Hey guys, Diz Life Mark here, and I want to tell you all about the official travel partner here at Chip & Company. Let our good friend Sarah at Destination to Travel help you plan your next Disney vacation. Sarah specializes in planning dream vacations for your family. She's an authorized Disney vacation planner, and she can help with every step of your magical vacation. The best thing is that her services are 100% free. Want to travel beyond Disney? Sarah has you covered there too. Want to find out more? Fill out a trip request form over at the website at Chip & Co. or email her directly at sarahsolberg@d2travel.com. What are you waiting for? Start planning that dream vacation today. Email her at sarahsolberg@d2travel.com.
Ahoy, hoy, everyone, and welcome to the Chip & Company Podcast Network. My name is Greg, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Mark Valentine. Mark, today we have a once-in-a-lifetime interview with a Disney legend.
Yes, we do, Greg. She has provided the voice and soul for some of the most iconic animated characters, most notably the voice of Ariel in Disney's The Little Mermaid and the subsequent sequels, but also in the Toy Story franchise as the voice of tour guide Barbie. And let's just face it, her voice continues to awe and inspire millions from around the world. And today, Greg, we are so fortunate to have that voice with us here in studio, the voice of legendary Jodi Benson.
Jodi certainly needs no introduction as a Disney legend, as a member of the community. I've seen her at Give Kids the World. We have seen her around the parks. Mark, let's just get straight into this. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Chip & Company Podcast Network, the one and only Miss Jodi Benson. Thank you so much for joining us today, Miss Benson. Please, may we call you Jodi?
Yeah, it's so funny to hear Miss Jodi Benson, because I was a homeschool teacher for 17 years. Right. So I feel like I'm back in school. So yeah, call me Jodi.
I'm okay. I just said this off air, but I am trying not to fanboy out here. Both Mark and I have stories of how important you are in our lives.
Aww, that's so
you are
sweet.
the voice of a generation to us, especially our age group between 45 and 50,
that's
where
right.
The Little Mermaid is the world to us. It's the Disney Renaissance. So both of us want to say what an honor it is to have you join us here today.
Oh, well, it's such an honor to be with you both. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Thank you. We had a chance to preview the book, Part of My World. One of the first things you mentioned in the book is saying that you never really wanted to write a book, as in, quote, ever. What changed to decide for you to actually tell your story right now?
Yeah, no, never in a million years. That was not the plan whatsoever. And February 2020, before the world shut down, Tyndale Publishing called me. And now Tyndale does Bibles and Christian books. I'm like, oh, no, I'm not doing a book. Absolutely not. So they called back in March. They're like, would you rethink? I'm like, nope. Absolutely not. Then the world shut down and they called again. I said, now we're really not doing it because that's cheesy. I mean, everybody's unemployed. I lost all of my work for the rest of 2020 and half of 21. So, I think I'll write a book. I mean, no, I'm not doing that. That is just ridiculous. And then they called back again and they're like, listen. Okay, so here's our idea. I'm like, I am not writing a book, and I'm definitely not writing a Christian book. That's just not going to roll with me. And they're like, okay, what if you just collect a bunch of stories, not a memoir, not an autobiography? I'm like, oh, gosh, no, that is not happening. Not a tell-all. I'm like, absolutely not. But just a snippet of stories, a gathering of stories where people can pick up a little chapter, read one little chapter, put it down, and then a week later, if they want to read another little story. And it's like a thank you letter, a love letter to Disney, a thank you letter to Howard Ashman, and to the people along your journey. And it's not about you. And you put the light on others. I was like, okay, keep talking. And they said, and like, if one person picked up the book and read one story and felt either encouraged or like, that's interesting. I want to think more about that. Or they read about all your millions of mistakes and they don't do what you did and they try something else. Would it be worth it to you if one person picked up the book and felt one of those three things?
Which I have to say.
And I said, sure, then I'll do it.
Right. So you can't just read one snippet and put it down. The way you tell your stories is you want to just keep reading and reading and reading.
Oh.
And but I also want to mention, look, so Tinsdale Publishing is a Christian publisher.
Right.
And you tell some amazing stories about being a Christian woman in this book, but you do it in a way where you're not trying to convert. You're not trying. You're just telling how Jesus and God in your life affected you and the outcomes that you have in your life.
Right. And the whole idea was I want any person to feel comfortable to pick up this book. I didn't want anyone to feel excluded. I didn't want to feel like it was just for a special group of people. And I also didn't want anyone to pick up the book and feel hurt. That was huge to me. So those were two big points for me with Tyndale to say, listen, I don't know if this is going to work for us because I really want to think outside the box. And I do want to share some stories, but I'm just sharing stories about me. It never crossed my mind of, I'm writing a Christian book. No, I'm just sharing some behind the scenes stories that happened to me, which foundationally, I'm a person of faith. So of course, naturally, my faith is going to come out in various ways for me. But I didn't want to exclude anyone from, hey, I like Disney. Hey, I like Mermaid. Hey, I like Broadway. Hey, I like family. Hey, this lady homeschooled for 17 years. Oh, yeah, she's been through some really hard times. Oh, she dealt with suicide. Oh, she dealt with separation leading towards divorce. I think I'd like to pick this up and read that one little story. So I just didn't want anyone to feel excluded. That was really important to me.
Jodi, what was that like going back that far in life? Like, talk us through that process, because it was so fun to go back. Like I could smell the city. I felt like I was back in New York City, pounding the pavement, as someone who's also been on a journey like that. But what was that like for you, going back and reliving those moments, those intimate moments in your life?
Painstakingly difficult. Honestly, it was so hard because I say right at the beginning, I have BC brain, before children. I don't remember anything before children. So that would be 1999 when our son was born. It was very hard to go back to my childhood for various reasons. A lot of the stuff I don't share in the book because I didn't want it to be a tell-all, and I didn't want to hurt somebody or hurt people. So I left all that stuff out, which is really good. But it was very difficult to remember and recall, which is why I write at the very first page, I'm sorry if I have recalled things incorrectly. I've made a lot of mistakes in my recollection, and I'm sorry, so give me some grace. I did the best I could, but it was very hard. And the book was not written. It's an audio. I taped everything that you are reading, and then it was transcribed.
And
so
I
never put a pen to paper. That's why it reads like I'm just chatting with you. And that's why sometimes it's not correct, because I'm just talking,
I love the way the book read. And for people who open this book, I think that's one of the things that I loved most about it, how conversational its tone was. It was such a fun and easy read, because I did feel like throughout this, I was just having a very intimate conversation with you. And that's why I think when people open this book, it's going to be hard for them to put it down, is because it's just a really wonderful conversation with you.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I just never wanted to write a book. It's way outside of my comfort zone, and it still is. I have to do the press and publicity for it because, it's the publisher's need for me to do that. And I said I would, but, I said to them, I'm going to be very brutally honest with each interview that I do every hour on the hour to say, this wasn't my idea. And honestly, I never wanted to do this. It's out there now. Am I jumping for joy on September 13th? No. I mean, honestly, I feel like I did what I felt led to do, which was to shine a light on a lot of wonderful people. and share some stories that would be lost if I hadn't shared them, especially about Howard. And I did it, and it's out there. But honestly, it's pretty scary. It's pretty scary. So it's unknown territory for me. And it's very hard at my age to do something that you feel uncomfortable with and outside of my comfort zone. It's not in my wheelhouse. I did something scared. I did it while I was scared. And that's kind of a new adventure for me. So in that regards, I feel a sense of contentment and peace that I did something terribly uncomfortable.
Right.
And I did it while I was scared, but I did it. And so there is a sense of accomplishment, not necessarily joy.
Right. It has to be very, very difficult to go back and share some of these intimate details that you have in there, especially Howard meant so much to you. Was it really difficult for you personally to go back? I know you're trying to share these memories and keep them alive. I mean, especially about Howard, and that story broke my heart. Like I had tears coming down my face when I read that, because the beauty that he brought to this world was astonishing. Was it hard for you just to go back and share these intimate details?
Yeah,
and I'm sorry to I'm so sorry to interrupt you on that, but
no.
You also share intimate stories about your own personal life, especially with your husband. And you guys have been through some difficult times and some amazing times also.
Sure. Yeah. And it was hard because our kids are 21 and 23 and they don't know all the stories. And so we had to sit down as a family to decide what to share, what not to share. And I said, you're going to be reading some stuff in here that you didn't know. And it's not that we were keeping it a secret. It's just that the timing wasn't right. Our son just got married in June, and the time is right now. It's okay for them to pick up the book. Both of them did not want to read the manuscript. They did not want to read the digital copy I sent to them in February for the final edit. And they said, no, we're going to wait till the book comes out. And, when the box arrives, and then they will read it. They'll read it when everybody else reads it. And I said, you're probably going to have questions. You're going to read some stuff that's tough and that your dad and I went through. We're not proud of, and the mistakes that we made. But you're going to read the truth, and the truth does set you free. I mean, there's a lot of freedom in telling the truth. There is. And it's very healing, So there was a part of me that was relieved that some of that stuff is out there. A lot of it is not a secret to most of the public. I'm sure if they do a deep dive in the internet, they could hear and read any article that I shared back in the 80s and the early 90s when we were separated. So it's not like it's going to be this big, huge surprise. But the stories about Howard are intimate, and no one really knew those stories except for Howard's partner, Bill. I had to kind of do that. But then my friend, Susan Egan, we were talking and chatting about it when I saw her in person on the Disney Princess concert tour recently here in Atlanta. And we were having an early lunch together with her and their musical conductor, my friend, Benji Rahala. And, she's like, well, how do you feel about the book? Are you so excited? And, I start to cry, and she's like, oh my gosh. I said, no, Susan, I never wanted to write this. I mean, this is just really uncomfortable for me. And she said, and then she started tearing up, and she said something that was really profound. She looked at me and she said, you know what, Jodi, you have a gift to share that no one will ever know about Howard. So don't make this about you. This isn't about you.
Yeah.
This is about the stories that you shared with us, that we get to be a part of Howard's life. These are stories that didn't need to be kept secret in your heart. That would be selfish.
Yeah.
So this isn't about you. This book is not about you. This book is about other people that you're shining the light on. And I just want to say thank you that you didn't selfishly keep these stories about Howard from me and from other readers. I mean, she was crying as she was telling me that. And I was like, when she looked at me, she's like, you would have been selfish And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about it that way. So she's like, don't make this about you.
Yeah.
When this book comes out September 13th, it's not about you. And so I've remembered that. That's really stuck in my heart when she said that to me.
And for those out there who don't know who Howard is, and I want to shed light on this, it is Howard Ashman, the American playwright who worked with you on The Little Mermaid. He also worked on Beauty and the Beast, and I think he was finishing up with Aladdin when he passed away. And that's just to let the listeners know what Howard we're talking about. I mean, to us, there's no other Howard, but I just want to make sure for those who don't know.
Yes, the greatest lyricist ever to grace us. Also an amazing director, my director in Smile, and he was my personal director for The Little Mermaid. And Ron and John stepped aside and let him come in the booth with me inside, silent, and in between takes direct me because we had just done Smile together on Broadway, but also the most amazing executive producer. So he wore many, many hats throughout his life.
And Jodi, speaking of Howard, but also, you know, this song and your voice, we said before we came to air how instrumental that it's been to millions of people and fans around the world for over 30 years. That song and this story of Ariel has been so important to people around the world. Did the two of you know that it was going to be this big when you were making passes and when you were laying this track down? Did you ever envision it getting to this level and to this point in your life?
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. First of all, you know, the audition was a fluke. It was just a consolation prize when Smile closed tragically with Frank Rich's review, and we all lost our jobs. And Howard had already started working on Mermaid, and the whole production team and the executives had come to see Smile to see Howard's work. And I happened to be singing Disneyland on stage, which was written for my character as a leading role. And they came to my dressing room afterwards and just commented on how beautiful the song was and how great you did. And I was like, oh, that's so sweet. And then when our show tragically closed, Howard felt horrible and he felt responsible because he was our director, our lyricist, and one of our executive producers. And he bore the brunt of that responsibility on his shoulders. He shouldn't have, but he did. And so he invited a handful of us girls from the show to have something to look forward to and to go to this audition, never to get it, only to have something to look forward to in the next few weeks after we closed. So it was just a fluke. You know, I went to this audition thinking, oh, this is super fun, never been behind a mic, didn't know what I was doing. So when a year goes by and I get called that I get this job, I mean, I'm just completely blown away. And back then, we were just going to roll the credits like Walt had planned with Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella. You're not supposed to know who the voices are.
Yeah.
You just roll the credits, and if you buy the VHS or you get that and you can pause it and figure it out, good for you. So I was doing a Broadway show with Sam. Sam and I were doing another ill-fated Broadway show together while we were doing Mermaid, flying back and forth. Well, he was training, I was flying. But, you know, no one's ever going to know. No one was ever going to know about this job. It was a one and done. And then it was, you know, about 7 weeks before that they said, we're sending you on press tour. And I'm like, why? Well, we're seeing that this is taking off with the critics and the screenings and the previews and the media, and something special is happening with this film, and it's kind of getting big. And so we've changed our mind, and we're going. And I'm like, then people are going to know. You know, they're going to associate a face with a voice. And do you really want that? I mean, is that what you want now? So it just, the whole thing was just a huge surprise.
Right.
So yeah, to answer your question, absolutely not. It was a one and done. That was it for me. That's what I thought.
So obviously we have to ask about your relationship with Ariel. You have been, I mean, when we see you and we talk to you, everybody thinks you are Ariel. And I think you have a great joke in the book about how you can actually breathe underwater because you are a mermaid, which is, I thought, one of the most brilliant things you could tell a kid and walk around Disney World and be like, yes, I am that mermaid. So what is your relationship with Ariel now? Like, you seem like you have accepted this and this is part of who you are and she is part of who you are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we're looking at 35 plus years, and I'm in the studio and I'm singing the song, every week. And I'm traveling around the world and meeting amazing people and, a full-time Disney cast member, and Disney's my family. So absolutely, there's just a handful of us still around that know Ariel, from day one. And I'm very protective of her, and I've got a wonderful department at Disney Character Voices that actually started the year that the film came out, and all of my coworkers that protect her and her integrity and who the character is, and we pay homage to the original of the movie. I sing the song the exact same way every single time, the way that Howard created it, the way that Howard recorded it on the cassette tape back in '86. And I just do exactly what he interpreted with Alan because it's perfect and it's who Ariel is. I don't need to reinvent her, and I don't need to change her. And I need to maintain the integrity of who she is. And I need to help people like yourselves when you hear the song and when you hear the dialogue, trigger your core memory of where you were the first time you saw the film. That's my job.
Yeah.
We don't need to sway from that. I don't need to sway from that. So, I'm honored. I'm completely honored and completely flabbergasted that I still, 35 years plus into it, can bring her to life.
Jodi, you're a parks goer, so I have to ask you, as you walk through both Disneyland and Disney World, how does it feel to see Ariel on rides and T-shirts and kids walking around with bubble wands? Like, what does that feel like to you?
Honored, thankful, grateful, pure joy, blown away, absolutely unfathomable to think that I get to be a little part of all of these people's lives in some way, shape, and form. So the parks are the only place in the world where I can wear an Ariel shirt and wear Ariel ears. And I do every single day that I'm in the park because it's the only place I can do it. And it's fun, and I don't hide incognito. I mean, you're obviously walking around with my VIP guide, so you know that something's going on when you're with a plaid. But
right.
It's just, I'm honored. And my kids, they're so sweet. They've learned from day one the radar of people that follow us around and graciously waiting. And the kids will tap me on the shoulder, Mom, to your left, right, 3 o'clock to your right. Somebody needs something, Mom, pull over. So we stop, and we've been doing this for, 35 years, where I stop and it takes, 20 seconds to say hi and snap a photo. I mean, literally it takes 20 seconds. And so I'll do that however many times, whether it's a cast member. And of course, cast members, we have to be careful because they're not allowed to use their phone, but they can use my phone. And I can airdrop the photo to them or to their supervisor. I'll go to the supervisor very quietly and I'll say, I would like to take a photo with your crew member, and I would ask you that you would not get them in trouble, and I'm giving them permission, and it's coming from me, so.
I've never heard that story before. That's amazing.
I do it multiple times a day in the park because those are my fellow cast members. We're equals. We're on the same team. They want to have a photo. They want to have a meet and greet for 20 seconds, 30 seconds. And of course, they're not allowed. They can get fired, but not if it comes from me. So I know the look. I know the eyes, and my kids know the look. My husband knows the look. They've got the radar to know. And if you've got a cast member whose name is Ariel, come on, and she's probably 28. Come on. So it's a no-brainer.
So,
you stop and again, we're not talking it takes 15 minutes per person because people are like, people don't want you shouldn't. They always say, I'm so sorry to bother you. I'm so sorry. And I said, listen, this is my job. You're not bothering me. This is a good thing. This is what I do. And they never stop you while you're eating. They always wait till you finish your meal and that you step outside. They wait outside the restaurant or they wait as you enter the restaurant. And I'll say, thank you so much for letting me finish my meal with my family. I'll meet you out front. 15 minutes, I'll meet you out front. No problem.
Wow.
You know, so it comes with the territory. It is my job. You know, it is. And I'm honored. I'm honored. They're not bothering me. You know, they're just lovely. It's lovely. And you know, people say, well, why do you wear ears? And why do you wear a t-shirt? You're a walking advertisement. I say, you know why? Because I happen to love this character. And it is the only place on planet Earth where I can dress like this and it's appropriate. You know?
Yeah. So we need to mention that while Ariel is, of course, what you are best known for in terms of your contributions to the Disney animated landscape, you are also another icon, and you talk about her in the book specifically by name. The iconic role of tour guide Barbie. What was it like to be Barbie? And do you see a solo film for yourself as tour guide Barbie?
Please.
Like, would you be up for that? And what would that look like?
I mean, you know, hey, listen, of course I would be absolutely jumping at that opportunity. Will that ever happen? Who knows? I have no idea. Yeah. And that was a fluke. I didn't even audition for Barbie. I mean, the folks over at Pixar called and said, you know, we want you to be tour guide Barbie in Toy Story 2. And I'm like, yeah, I'd love to come in and audition. No, you already got the job. I'm like, well, how's that possible? Well, because we heard you in The Little Mermaid as Ariel, and we know Barbie's inside there somewhere. And I'm like, okay. So the first day we just pulled out a box of Barbies and we just played with them and literally made them talk with the producers and the director and myself, and found her inside there somewhere. And we brought her to life. But, you know, I think, I don't even remember if I share this in the book or not, but I had Mattel comes to the session. It's a female executive coming to overlook the session of Toy Story 2 when Barbie walks in the room for her first day, because it's Mattel. Now, Toy Story, the original, had invited Barbie to be part of Toy Story, the original film. And Mattel had said, no. Barbie's not going to be part of something like that. We're Mattel. She's Barbie. She's not going to be in some kind of, you know, animated film like this. We're not going to cheapen her. Well, then they saw how well it did.
Wow.
So Mattel's like, okay, great. We'll be part of Toy Story 2. So the executive comes and she's like, this is a very big deal. This is the very first time that Barbie's ever had a voice. I'm going to be standing right here in the studio as this voice is created, because I need to maintain the integrity of our doll and who she is. And I quietly look at her and I say, I don't want to like upset you, but I actually did the voice of Barbie in your claymation workout video in whatever year it was, 89 or 90, right after the film. She kind of looked at me. They didn't know. And Pixar didn't know that I had already done the voice of Barbie. The first time that Barbie had a voice ever in history. I just thought that was so funny that nobody knew that. And they're like, okay.
So you came full circle right back to Barbie. I love that.
It did. And you can find that claymation workout video. I mean, it's so funny. You know, it's just a funny little VHS. But anyways, we had a lot of fun working on Toy Story. So I was so blown away when I got invited back for Toy Story 3. And she wasn't just going to be tour guide Barbie. She was going to have this, you know, whole story go on, and she kind of saves the day, you know. I mean,
she is a strong female character. It's amazing.
She comes to the rescue, and oh my gosh, it was just so much fun when that script was developed. And like I said, I didn't know I was going to be part of it. So when they called, I thought, oh, you know, making a little cameo, and I'm like, oh no. Girlfriend's going to save the day. Barbie going to show up. I thought that was so fun.
So I want to transition into a little bit here. We are slowly running out of time, and you are so amazing answering all these questions for us. But we need to know, what does the status of Disney legend mean to you? I know you talked that you're a cast member.
Right.
Can you, and especially that moment on stage when you are receiving this award of being a Disney legend.
Right.
Could you take us through that?
Yeah, that was the whole thing. I think I might share it in the book. I can't really remember, but because I haven't read the book in a long time, but they were doing a big house cleaning at Disney Character Voices, what we call a freshening up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's normal to do every decade. But so when I got the call from Chris Montan, who, by the way, is finally being inducted as a Disney legend in a couple of weeks, and I'm beside myself.
I can't wait to see that.
when my boss called me, Chris Montan, I just said, thanks so much, Chris. It's been a great ride. And I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful for all these years. And yeah, just thank you so much. And I'm good. I'm good with it. And he's like, what? And I was like, well, I'm stepping out. I'm stepping out, right? I mean, it's time to refresh. And I'm totally fine with that. And he's like, no, I was actually calling to see if you could come to California and we could induct you as a Disney legend. And then I dropped the phone on the floor. And that was that.
Amazing.
And I picked up the phone and he's like, hello, are you there? I was like, I think the first thing I said was like, I thought you had to be dead to get this. I just was like, what is happening? I thought I was being let go. I thought you could only be dead to get this award. What is that? He goes, no, you and the other inductees are very much alive. And all that was racing through my mind is, I don't deserve this. I mean, all my bosses have been there longer than me, and they all need this award. I really, like, I'm thinking to myself, Chris, you need this award, not me. I mean, like, can I trade places with somebody else? Because this makes no sense to me. It really doesn't. And so I struggled with, like, feeling so undeserving when all of my bosses didn't have it. And they were the part of why I was on my journey. So all I could think of was to tell the stage manager when it was time for me to get up there. They're like, you have 20 seconds. I said, okay. And I just walked up to the stage manager. I said, I know that you're on a time clock. I totally understand that. I said, but it's 2011 and I've been part of the company since 1987 and I have a list of names and I do not want to leave anybody's name out. And this award is not for me. I really need to say these names. So I apologize now. I'm going to go over my time.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, don't worry about Jodi. Just do what you have to do, honey. And I said, thank you. So for me, again, just like with the book, it's like if I could put the focus on all the other people that were actually much more deserving of this award than me, then I was okay with accepting it on their behalf is kind of how I felt. Like it just wasn't about me. It was about this list of names in the Disney Pixar family that made it possible. And again, I still don't feel deserving of being a Disney legend, quite honest, because I still have some bosses that have not been inducted. And I don't know why, and I don't know how that's even possible, but yeah. And people that have been there a lot longer than me. Finally, my friend Don Hahn, 1976, Don Hahn, finally being inducted this year. I mean, I'm sorry, it is about damn time. I'm sorry. I was like, what is going on with that? That's ridiculous, people. It's ridiculous. So yeah, that I still just kind of shake my head like, when people say you're a Disney legend, I'm like, yeah, but man, there are so many people I can name right now that need this award, that deserve this award much more than me.
Jodi, you've accomplished so much, Disney legend included. What excites you now about the future? What do you see for the future of your life? What do you see for the future of your ministry moving forward?
Wow, that's a great question. You know, in this season of life for me, everything is just icing on top of an absolutely perfect cake, really. If I do anything else again, awesome. If I don't, awesome. I am fulfilled. I am content. I am peaceful. I'm grateful. I'm thankful. I have accomplished every dream I ever had in my heart when I was 8 years old, and then some, so much more beyond. I look forward to being a grandma one day. I can't wait to take my grandbaby to Walt Disney World. I'm really looking forward to that. I am so excited about that. Now, I'm not rushing the kids. I'm just, my job is to stay healthy and strong, because we got a really late start on our family because of 8 shows a week on Broadway. So we got a really late start on being a mom and dad. So we got to stay strong and healthy. But I really look forward to that day. I'm very excited about that day, whenever it is. No rush. But as far as like career, yeah, I'm good. I mean, honestly, I'm so good. I'm so happy. I love my job. I love my girl, Ariel. I hope I get to do her till the day I die. I don't know if that'll be possible. We'll see. So far, so good. My voice can recreate all of my characters and maintain their integrity.
I have to ask you this real quick. So Don Hahn is going in, getting the Disney Legend Award this year at the D23 Expo.
Yes.
We see you all the time at all these events around Walt Disney World, Disneyland. Do you have anything on the horizon special coming up?
I'm going to be at D23 for all 3 days, doing a bunch of fun little things, surprises, and some scheduled things. I can't wait. I'm so excited I get to go back to D23 and be there in the audience when Don and Chris get their Legends Award. I will be jumping to my feet. I will be the one screaming for both of my bosses, both of my people that I adore and just look up to. The book comes out the 13th, the day after. So it's going to be a little crazy season. And then I am pretty darn booked the rest of this year, thankfully, between concerts and symphonies and Comic-Cons and Disney special events. I do a lot of corporate Disney special events on the ship and at both parks for our cast members, as well as for corporations that come into our neck of the woods between the ships and the parks. So 2023 is pretty well booked all the way through. So again, as long as I can still give credit to my characters and to Ariel and can still sing her and sound like the day I was in the studio, I'll have a job, I guess, until whatever. So I'm thankful for that.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on the Chip and Company Podcast Network here. Ladies and gentlemen, Disney legend, Disney cast member, Ariel, tour guide Barbie, so much more. Please remember, Part of My World, September 13th is the release date. You can go to Tyndale Publishing or partofmyworld.com and pre-order the book, and it comes with the audio version. And Jodi, do you actually do the audio version? Is it your voice, the one that you recorded for them?
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely, which was challenging as a professional voiceover artist to not do it perfectly, but to read the book as Jodi and with all the emotions, the good, the bad, the ugly, the messy, the happy, the joyous, the laughter, the tears. It was a very, very difficult project to record for a week, but I feel proud of the fact that I was able to tell my story clearly and hopefully authentically. That was my goal. So yeah, it's partofmyworldbook.com if you're interested. And if you're not interested in getting the book, that's totally fine with me. Honest, I promise you. I don't want people to feel pressure like, I gotta go buy this book. You know what? If you need a book and you want to put it by your bedside table and you want to read 1 chapter a week or 1 a month, totally fine. If you don't get the book, we're still friends. It's all good. I promise.
On behalf of Mark Valentine and myself, Jodi Benson, I am so grateful. I'm trying not to fanboy out right now.
That makes two of us, Greg.
I said, we are both huge fans of yours.
Thank you.
What you have done for our lives is just tremendous. And I want to thank you personally. And I mean that from my heart. So thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Jodi Benson.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, boys. You're such sweet boys. So sweet to have me. And I look forward to seeing you. Hopefully I can find you at D23.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you guys so much for having me. And much love to all your listeners and all your followers.
Thank you, Jodi.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That was amazing. Thank you again to Jodi Benson for joining us. Greg, in a word, how do you feel right now?
Well, I don't have one word, Mark. Both you and I grew up with her. Her voice, and I really mean this, is the voice of our generation. She's the voice of the Disney Renaissance.
I'm so glad that I had that chance before the show to tell her the moment that I saw that film, but the minute the film was great and then that song came on and there was just a movement emotionally for me that I would never be the same again. And to be able to tell her that in person and to explain how much a part of your world means to me and still means to me at 43, this was a moment. Thank you to Chip and thank you to you. This was a moment I'll never forget, man. This was a great interview. This was just one of the best things that I've ever had happen in my life. And of course, thank you to Jodi Benson for being so gracious to sit down with you and me for this radio show.
I want to say what a gracious and humble woman she was and is. She is a great conversationalist. She does not take a lot of credit for what she does. She gives it out to every single other person out there in the world. But I think as fans of hers and fans of Disney, it's time for us personally to say thank you to her. Thank you to everybody for joining us today out there. It's quite amazing. We appreciate everybody. Remember, you can get us at Chip and Company Podcast. Thank you to Mr. Chip Confer and to everybody out there. Have an amazing day, and we'll see you later.
Thanks, everybody.